Well, sister, shall we try to keep on living without gnawing at each other? Let's do this. We should thank our friend and patron for giving us a chance. It's up to us how we use it. And now, let's go. A far darker battle awaits us.
Hey, Chief! How are you feeling? I can't wait to stretch my legs a little. This happiness cost us a lot. And to keep it, I'll fight 1,000 devils. For you, for all of us, and for those who aren't with us anymore. If I have to, I'll burn down the whole First World and return alive with you. Some fight. I'm already thinking about the toast for the celebration feast. We'll deal with this flying fireball nice and quick, and then I hope we'll celebrate for at least a couple of weeks. I wonder where Octavia is now. Probably in Elysium, feasting with Callistria. I hope she sees us and raises a cup to our victory. You've led us through 100 brawls. You'll lead us through this one. Just don't look back, and use any chance fate throws at us. Lead on, Chief. I'm right behind you.
A menacing hour. A simple mind might see it in the end of times, and the triumph of Grotus. But alas, these are only the games of a foolish deity, wrapped in the vanity of the First World. Your words seem strange to me, but something in them warms my old soul. Though this is true, everything unfolds in the best possible way. If we meet our death in the coming battle, it will be a wonderful ending. If we win, although it's a pointless act, I will also be satisfied. It would be wrong to bow to this self-proclaimed Lantern King. Indeed, we must quench that false light, so it doesn't confuse the souls of those who look on it.
We're ready to march, are we not? At last. This waiting is exhausting. It's not the first time I've heard someone praise my skills, but hearing it from you is especially enjoyable. You are an excellent leader. I hope you know that's not flattery. I don't flatter, and I'm no good at it. It's just a sign of respect, from one worthy companion to another. I know the wrath and mercy of true deities. The games of the First World Pretender don't scare me. And yes, you are absolutely right about me. However, I value justified risk and mutually beneficial alliance. No serious goals can be achieved without them. Point me to the goal. I'll handle the rest, one way or another.
I look around and I think, should we really have been so eager to get to the First World? I suppose it's time we ask that he leave our lands alone and take himself back where he comes from. Jubilost Narthropple, the most unbearable researcher of Galarian, at your service. We've seen a lot together. I hope you've said that for a reason, and the good memories outweigh the bad ones. Just a little bit. Of course, I never became the hero who saved the entire gnome race. I don't even know how I'll live with myself, knowing that I'm just a famous scientist who visited the First World, met one of its deities, and defeated another, assuming we win this battle. We'll ask them, all right. Who can say no to politeness and forcible explosive arguments?
We were just getting ready for our last great battle, and now we're doing it again. It's a good thing I decided to follow you back here at Aldori's. You definitely know how to have fun, Chief. Oh no, I'm not ready. Wait, I need to polish my sword and tie some ribbons to my belt. Then I'll be ready for battle. I do. You're a good chief, and our tribe is all right, and we've been through a lot of good fights. Don't think I'm sucking up or something. It's just that I live like I want now, and that makes me sing inside. Right. Go on, Chief. Give the order.
The curse didn't break you. Good. But we must hurry. This madness must be stopped once and for all. Words of a worthy leader are better reward than honors and gold. We've come a long way. May the ones ahead be longer and lighter. No, we are going to fight for our home, for the laughter of children yet to be born. That evil outsider god fights only for his pride. He cannot win. Lead. I will follow.
I'm just waiting for a signal to attack. There's a great battle ahead, and it will end with a great victory. I believe that more than I've ever believed anything. I'm glad to hear it. I would never turn away from my duty, no matter what. Yet it's better to enter a dangerous battle with an easy heart, knowing that your sword serves one who truly values your loyalty. Every failure, every fallen comrade. But these regrets cannot undermine my spirit. We learn from our mistakes and harden for times like these. And I need not answer. To arms! We will protect this land and free you from this curse. That's why I've taken up my weapons, and I won't put them down until all our plans are fulfilled.
Of course you're glad. What would you do without me? I can't tell what is to come, and this makes me uneasy. But my gut is telling me we can handle it. It turns out that it's not so easy to be the heroes of song and legend. But we can do it. I know it. I believe it. Just terribly silly things. I often do this to distract myself from trouble and worry. I daydream about complete nonsense. Just now, I was thinking how wonderful it would be to see the snow and make a snowman. I've never done anything like that before. This land can only have one ruler. We'll do whatever it takes to recover what's been taken from us and save this miserable land.
It's good that everything will be over. I have been so afraid that we wouldn't have the time to save you or this tormented kingdom. But now there's just a little further to go, and I believe we can make it. You exaggerate. I don't think I offer so much support. But I am immensely happy that I can help you in any way I can. This land deserves peace, and all the more so, its ruler. I didn't want to distract you with such a trifle at this important moment, but let me again thank you for giving me a second chance. I have realized much along my journey. Although I'd prefer my awakening hadn't been bought with innocent lives. From now on, I will be stricter with myself, and will spend more time helping those who need it. And one more thing. I'm not one for inspirational speeches, but let me wish you strength and luck. Your burden is the heaviest of all. May you be equal to the task. I'm with you until the end.
You are a welcome sight, Your Highness. Look what the damned eldest did to our city. As soon as we entered, the ground started trembling silently under our feet, and then it gave way and fell apart. But why am I telling you this? You probably saw the whole thing yourself. So, our team was stuck here by the gate, together with a whole horde of beasts from the First World. We fought them off somehow, thanks to you and Eraste. But I don't know what's going on with the others. And also, well, he'll tell you himself.
Happy to serve you, Your Grace. I mean, Your Highness. Right. Damned fool thing. Never mind. I'm not sorry for any of it. I'm not exactly myself, Your Grace. Did you see the stag lord and the others who appeared from the cup? Well, I returned with them. Let the priest decide whether I'm alive or not, but no one has released me from service. I'm here now, helping as best I can. Yes, Your Highness. I'll talk to the soldiers now and then catch up with you. Something strange is happening up ahead. There's some monster lurking around where there used to be a tavern, but we'll help bring it down.
Still hiding behind masks, eldest? Isn't it time you cast them away?
Words, words. How little value we attach to them, and how much they truly mean. But I've grown tired of words and prophecies. I will no longer predict chaos and death. Instead, I will show them to you, myself.
Oh yes, the time has come! The time of fate and curses!
Enough! Time for masks is over. You risk challenging an eldest, and I accept the challenge. You will fight not a mere embodiment, but my true essence. This is my essence. I don't need magic or servile monsters to destroy you. Words are enough. Yes, words. I once told you, words spoken in the right time and place possess the power of the storm. You lightheartedly answer that you know what your power and essence are. In the thirst for adventures? I remember your answer. The world remembers it too. Your answer, your heart, your essence. Now, cursed King, I'm taking this part of your soul, as I took away Nerissa's ability to love. What you called your essence is yours no more. Let us continue. We both wear the crown. But what do you want? A meager patch of land, a few thousand souls? My dominion is chaos and magic, madness and deceit. Your power is nothing compared to mine. And that is why you are helpless before me. You will take my every blow as a divine punishment, as something imminent. I'm curious what you think of me, cursed king. Do you see me as a villain or a simple joker? In truth, well, never be able to conceive of the truth. Being an eldest means being one of the many strings that hold the world in place. Being an eldest means being such a vast and self-sufficient value that one's equals become strangers and one's inferiors are entirely insignificant. I am an eldest. Laughter, guile, transformation, that's what I am. Being what I am, I will let you feel a modicum of my loneliness. I will take away your pillar of strength. Good. You can play with words. Let us see if you can withstand the heat of my fire. Defeat. What a refreshing feeling. I don't remember sensing it for 1,000 millennia. But what's next? How will you end this story? Listen, I know a good ending. Elegant and refined. The hero defeats a deity in battle. Impressive, he grants the victor power and immortality. The hero enters the chambers of the deity to become his champion and herald. Eternal, powerful, equally glorified both in the first world and in Valeria. His kingdom healed from its wounds and flourished under the rule of the immortal champion. A beautiful ending, isn't it? And this legend is yours for the asking.
Trust the laughing lie. Don't do this. Not after everything you and I have endured because of him. I can give you immortality and power, though not as much as the Lantern Kings. Perhaps we won't be able to stand against the Eldest, but accept my gift and my patronage, and together we will make him pay for what he's done.
How sad it is to hear you, Narissa. Thousands of years for nothing! You haven't learned a single lesson. Never learned to atone. But what do you say?
I suggest we do not kneel. We are both cursed, you and I. But so what? The curse can harm you only as much as affliction touches your kingdom. But now, with the Eldest wounded and bleeding, his henchmen all slain, I can return your state to the material plane. It will heal its wounds, and so will you. I'll create a bond between you and the First World, granting you immortality. Just as the Lantern King promises.
And what role in all this shall I play, Trespasser?
The role of the vanquished. I know you will hardly accept a defeat, Eldest. You may try to attack us again, but we defeated you once. And we will do it again if we must. I'm ready to fight you forever if I have to.
So you plan to entertain me for all eternity? Or do you think you can still outplay me, Trespasser?
Pretty words, Eldest. Save them for our next encounter. You pretend to laugh, but I see how shamed you are. What a deep wound you've suffered this day. It won't be the last, believe me. We've come a long way together. First as enemies, then as allies. I mark you with my gift. A bond to the First World. Eternal youth and immortality. We are the cursed king and queen. Each in their own kingdoms, their own world. But henceforth inextricably entwined. Eternity awaits. And possibly eternal war with a deceitful deity. But so what? It is our eternity. And perhaps in the end, we will rule not kingdoms, but whole worlds.
Now that the Eldest and other spiteful beings wouldn't be bothering us, the king returned to his subjects and celebrated the victory and the end of the kingdom's miseries with great fanfare. Everything gradually returned to normal, including our exciting lives. Not always peaceful, but also not troubled by invasions from another world. And little by little, our heroes and the common folk began to forget the sorrows of the past. So the kingdom returned to Golarion, but not without taking a piece of the First World with it. Miracles and strange occurrences, both kind and cruel, became the norm. Not that the citizens hadn't grown used to that. Of course, the Lantern King wasn't thrilled with the way things worked out, but who cares? Our leader and Nyrissa, the cursed king and queen, are ever ready to face the power of the eldest. Until that time comes, our leader spends a lot of time in the First World, learning its secrets and testing his new powers. The immortal king and his kingdom became a legend come true in Golarion. The kingdom built by our hero became an example for all its neighbors. What else would you expect? The Stolen Lands became the only place where the citizens sincerely toast the health of their ruler. The citizens lived trouble-free, and taxes made it to the treasury without losses. A powerful army guards the peace. Exploration of magic is on par. The temples are flooded with their congregations. And most importantly, our cultural contributions are at least the equal of Absalom. The king firmly eliminated banditry in the Stolen Lands, to the delight of the long-suffering locals, and brought peace and law to the area. That peace didn't last long, however. A jolly gang appeared in the Gnarl Marches, claiming to fight the tyranny of the king for the good of the common people. The Stolen Lands are called the Land of Popular Rule, for in these lands, common people feel fully in control of their fates. Unfortunately, the total absence of authority allowed one of the richest regions in the kingdom to proclaim itself an independent republic, and retrieving those territories came at a rather high price for the king. Who'd have thought that some tiny barony founded in the Stolen Lands by an adventurer would become a real kingdom, playing a prominent part in world politics? Of course, not everyone likes the proactive stance of this young, bold state, but the fact of the matter is, they can't afford to ignore the king and his diplomats. The feud between Brevois North and South, which had been smoldering for ages, never sparked the fires of civil war. Through great effort, our king managed to bring both parties to the negotiating table. While Rostland didn't gain its independence, it did receive wide autonomy rights. Our relationships with both House Sertova and the Sword Lords are respectful, but they've become lukewarm. Because of us, neither side got everything they wanted. Chandra Merve returned to our court, but just half a year later, she was poisoned. No one found out who did it or why. The Tiger Lords never fully recovered from the damage Armont did to the tribe. Lacking a strong leader and torn by infighting, the barbarians sank into a short but fierce internal war. Their lands were quickly appropriated by neighboring tribes, and the Tiger Lords were scattered across Numeria and the River Kingdoms, little more than pitiful remnants of a once great tribe. Pitax almost returned to its former state, a joyful city filled with beers of dubious quality and deals of questionable legality. The old trade houses lost the crown, but they retrieved the property Iravetti had taken from them. Soon, Pitax became almost like a second capital in the kingdom, a thriving city through which rivers of money from across the region ran. Unfortunately, we get much less of this money than we would like. Governor Liachenza turned out to be helpless against widespread embezzlement. Maestro Bellavara gave the Academy of the Arts a second wind. Throwing out mediocre students and sycophants, she gathered within its walls talented visionaries, rebels, and freethinkers. Those whose gifts felt cramped within the walls of more respectable institutions. She managed to do what Iravetti never could, namely, make the Academy truly famous, albeit scandalously so. And so what if, instead of odes to the king, the Academy releases sneering pamphlets and revolutionary leaflets? It only helps his reputation as a true patron of the arts. trolls and kobolds, two of the most savage native peoples living in the Gnarl Marches, were completely exterminated in the region. The forest paths became much safer, and the peasants' cattle have stopped going missing. After enduring so many storms and troubles, Varnhold eventually turned into a real city. Daring settlers decided to conquer the vast, wild expanses of Dunsword, and despite all odds, they succeeded. The modest colony that almost vanished at the hands of an ancient lich turned everything around to become a thriving city with lively river trading. Agay, the Spriggan leader, learned a valuable lesson after surviving his meeting with the king and even regaining his tribe's home. Don't try to occupy seemingly empty settlements anymore. Instead, the Spriggans settled across Dunsword's wild borderlands and proclaimed it as their domain. Keeping the peace in a situation like that seems like the stuff of dreams, as evidenced by the occasional lost patrols and stolen cattle. The Sootscale kobolds think themselves the masters of the area around the Old Sycamore, and they aren't very friendly toward travelers. It hasn't come to bloodshed yet, but many careless travelers have broken an arm or a leg in the kobolds' traps. When the king visits, the kobolds usually calm down a bit and even take down their traps, but it never lasts long. Oleg's trading post continues to thrive, attracting even more travelers. Much to its owner's displeasure, a small town is springing up around it. Despite Oleg's grumbling, he and his wife are well regarded by everyone, and Svetlana was even elected town chief. Making sure her sister was safe, the former bandit Kressel traveled south. Her trail went cold somewhere in Absalom's docks. They say she changed her name again and now serves on a trade ship, hiding from old acquaintances. Jod remained loyal to the king to the end of his days, healing the sick and generously sharing his austere wisdom with anyone who wished to hear it, and some who didn't. Having fulfilled his duty to the ruler, Erastil's priest peacefully departed this world, surrounded by friends and disciples. Having participated in Lamashtu's ritual, Olika gave birth to a strong and healthy baby. Sadly, the child grew into an unruly and violent adolescent. Having maimed a peer at just 10 years of age, the boy escaped to the Gnarl Marches, fleeing the rage of a mob that tore his mother to pieces instead. No one knows what happened to the lad, but legends of Lamashtu's child, who sometimes kills lost travelers and sometimes leads them to safety, are passed on by word of mouth throughout the area. Breinhart became a loyal ally and trade partner of the kingdom, and Darvin himself had been seen as a frequent guest in the capital. The elegant monarch of the neighboring kingdom has broken many hearts at court. After his visits, many young guards and servants have been seen staring through windows, sighing wistfully about something. The lizard folk of the Longtail tribe returned to live on the shores of Candlemere, but they couldn't return to their ancient way of life. Living alongside people, the lizard folk adopted their behaviors, habits, and even religion. More and more of the Longtail tribe pray not to the spirits of their ancestors, but to Erastil or Gorum. They even began to forget their original language. I hope someone writes down their songs and legends before they all sink into oblivion. The Sweet Teeth departed on a journey, hoping to see as many wonders as possible of this world and others. They keep sending us news from every corner of the map. Their bright painted wagon, drawn by a bull mastodon, crisscrosses Galarian, somehow appearing in the center of one incredible story after another. Evindra was glad to see the Lantern King's plans turn to dust. She spent some time helping restore the kingdom after the calamity, then returned home to the First World. They say the rebellious spirit of her cousin Nyrissa awoke within her as well. Evindra is said to recount our story to the Fae, encouraging them to question the power and might of the eldest. After the victory over the Lantern King, the storyteller abandoned his affairs and began spending a lot of time alone in contemplation. He eventually bid farewell to the king and left his lands. But I suspect the inhabitants of Golarion haven't heard the last of this mysterious traveler, for his own story is hardly finished. Amiri remained a pariah to her native tribe, but she stayed close friends with Nylak, who ruled the Six Bears wisely and taught them to survive in the unfamiliar plains and cities. The restless barbarian would often travel for long stretches of time, but sooner or later she would always return to her old friends, bragging about new scars and recounting new feats, many of which Nylak immortalized in song. Valerie stayed to serve the king, and to this day she continues to be a muse to many people. Not just bards and admirers, but to warriors as well. Honest and resilient, Valerie is not just famous for her feats in battle, but also for her patience and kindness, which she says the king helped her discover within herself. Harren became famous, respected by dwarves throughout our kingdom as well as our neighbors, even as far as the Five Kings Mountains. He's often been asked to help out or teach others, and he's never denied anyone, despite his grumbling. Some people even listen to his preaching. Lucky for us, there's a lot less howling about the end of the world now, and more wise words of moderation and humility. Not all of his disciples turned to Grotus, but everyone took away something useful from his teachings. Jaethal spent some time at the king's court, but she then left to do whatever it was her new goddess required. She must have become a great inquisitor for Pharasma, as no one would know the ways of the undead and Urgathoa's cultists as well as a former undead cultist would. She was also seen in the company of Salim Godafar. It's unlikely the two became friends, being so different from one another, but it's a known fact that they worked together. Tristan stayed in the Stolen Lands. Endowed with a special blessing of Sarenrae, the priest became known as a great healer and went on to perform many more miracles. I'd say the Movonic Diva deserves the right to rejoin Sarenrae's divine army. I hope the goddess will think the same when Tristan's hour comes and his soul is up for a new judgment. After the war ended, Ekin hung up his bow on the wall and traded the path of the ranger in for the craft of the carpenter. It may not be the most heroic ending to a tragic story like his, but as Torag is my witness, Ekin's happy with it, as is Alina, who became his wife and is bearing his child. Any baby born into this family will be pretty lucky, since the king himself still visits his old friend and will likely become the child's patron. Jubilost returned to the life of a traveling explorer, frequently visiting his favorite kingdom. He said so himself. His famous work studying the First World all opened with a dedication to his longtime companion, the king. Sometimes, during Jubilost's performances, all kinds of chaos would break loose. Viewers turned into unicorns, or would be teleported to the top of a cliff. Later, Jubilost would be seen arguing fiercely with a pretty gnome named Ner. The arguments looked very sweet and intimate. Rigongar was by the king's side day and night, his right hand, closest friend, and most trusted companion. He didn't interfere in ruling the country, but there were rumors of secret assignments he completed under royal orders. Not to mention the festivities he hosted when there weren't any matters of state to attend to. Not to mention the festivities he and our leader held to celebrate the marriage. It must be said, he refused to call himself a king, instead taking the title of Prince Consort. As for myself, the author of this book, Lindsay, who never chose a pretty nickname, I stayed here, within my own book, to watch what happens in the kingdom and one day write this epilogue. I hope, oh honored reader, that you learned something important from this story, or at least were entertained by it. And now that it's concluded, I have only to set the final period and go silent forever.